And he's waiting for us. But I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I say, as I come in here to hide a bunch of expressions. That's alright. We'll come deal with him later. Let me know if, you know, the music is too loud or if I'm too quiet or anything like that. Trying to have some pretty decent control over. There we go. I think that might prevent microphone peaking. My microphone is way further away from my face than it normally is anyway, just in case, you know, I do something crazy like sneeze on camera. But yeah, let's just warm up. Let's see where we're at here. Not gonna do too terribly much. Just get my hands loose. Get ready to work. It's a really nice day out. It's very sunny, but I've been hearing thunder, so it might not stay sunny. We'll see. Whoops. See, it's a good idea. I decided to warm up so that I'm not doing this to Fiyas. Screwing up our divine artist. Hope you guys are having a nice, kind of relaxing Sunday. There we go. Oh, I figured out how to get the chat open. There we go. So if you guys say something or ask questions, I'll be able to see it now. I apologize if there are more filler words than you're used to in my videos. Obviously, I'm doing this off the cuff and pretty nervous. We'll see. I think we're gonna have fun today. These are not my pony designs, just as we hang out, wait for more people to get here, maybe. These are, that's why Applejack looks like that. These are actually Jenny Nicholson's ponies. She did a video like 4 years ago talking about how she would change My Little Pony, and I just thought that her designs were so cute that they'd be a fun little sketch. But now I'm kind of obsessed. Now it's kind of a problem, because I think it would be a very fun way to take My Little Pony, I guess. Yeah, we're staying pretty even. I'll give it maybe 2 more minutes, I think, and we can hop over to Fiyas. Hope you guys are nice and cool, nice and cozy, have, you know, some snacks or a drink or something nice. Right now I am drinking a, you know, I don't know what the name of this drink is. I don't think it's actually on a menu anywhere, but it is a caramel macchiato, but instead of espresso, there's chai, and it has that that caramel apple syrup that came out alongside the pumpkin spice, courtesy of my beautiful fiance who works at Starbucks. And it might be in the chat, I don't know. She might be on her break. Hi, honey, if you are out there. Obviously this is my first stream. I'm a total noob and I only just figured out how to do some of the more important stuff, so I apologize if there's any, mistakes or anything like that. Hey Cam! Good to see you. Yes, we're drawing ponies. I don't know if anybody out there is still ashamed to admit that they're a horse girl, but I'm not ashamed anymore. I'm a horse girl. My Little Pony is cute. That's all I gotta say. I think it's about that time. We're gonna hop over to Fiyas. Now, I did most of the sketching already because I think I mentioned it in the King's video, the recorded video, but I take God knows how long to sketch. I'm incredibly slow. I change my mind a lot. But I do have the King's body, oh, not that one, just as sort of a size reference. All of the characters have this. A pinto named Cheese. That's a really good name for a horse, honestly. I think I'd probably name my horse, if I had a horse, I would name it Drug Money and just let my neighbors wonder. I don't know what kind of horse I'd want though. Probably a rescue. So the King, sorry, coming back here. I said it before, but I'll say it again. Sorry if there's a lot more filler words than you're used to. I'm extremely awkward in person, and my videos are very heavily edited, so I hope you guys are okay with a lot of filler words. But let's just jump right in, I tried to do most of the sketching before I came live, so all we have to do are the line art, is the line art, and some fun little, maybe we'll get to colors today. I hope we do. We'll see. I'm really not sure how long I'm planning on staying. I guess it really depends just on how well this goes. So thanks for joining along my little experiment. Let me know if I'm too quiet, if you want the mic closer to my face. I moved it pretty far away just so, if I sneeze or something terrible happens, I don't blow your guys' ears out. But if you can't hear me very well, just let me know. And we're gonna label every single layer we make today. You guys are gonna hold me accountable for this. We are labeling all of our layers. There we go. And I'll bring this menu out a little bit so you can see what we're working with. As I sit here looking at his body, I'm not entirely sure that everything is proportional, so let me take a quick check here. Yeah, I do have a couple of bodies for reference, his own, and then I have this really nice folder that a professor gave me from a sculpting class actually, and it's basically just a folder of like 100 different athletes all lined up. So helpful when it comes to trying to establish like different body types, and kind of where the different landmarks of the body would go. Now obviously our artist is not the most athletic guy in the world. He's kind of wimpy, kind of twinky. So even this tennis player that I'm referencing is a little broad, but I think his belly button might be in the wrong place, or I got something going on with his hips down here. Generally, they say that your wrist should line up with your crotch, and that's happening over here. His arm is bent. I was thinking we could maybe do 2 different variations of his hand. I thought that'd be kind of interesting. If we do sort of like a loose hand, like the one that's illustrated, there's like the pinky. And if we did one hand that was closed, so that way he'd be able to hold items. I thought it'd be kind of interesting if he held a few different items, like a paintbrush, or actually even have, I think I drew out, yeah, if he even had like a shepherd's hook. So maybe some outfits will have a clenched fist and some of them will have an open hand. I think that'll be kind of a fun variation that we can do for our character sprites, because I don't plan on doing anything insane. I'm still really trying to make this dating sim as if I were a total beginner, or as if I didn't have a lot of the skills that I would have gotten from like going to school for this stuff. I want to try to make a very accessible dating sim, I guess, very emulatable. You know, I was convinced that I did something wrong, but as I started to lay out, I think maybe his crotch is just a little long, frankly. Oh, hang on. Let's see, I don't actually have this character's color palette picked out yet. I know I had the king pretty quickly. I guess I'm taking suggestions. I want a lot of green, but I think I just need to bring his crotch up a little. Yeah, that seems better. When I'm sketching just for myself, I love sketching in like all different colors and using all different brushes and just kind of generally making a mess. But I'm gonna try to keep it reined in for the benefit of you guys. Let's see, oops, wrong one. You can see how my drawing technique makes it very easy for me to get sidetracked. So let's do a body base. Let's actually just do a loose hand for now. I probably should have written down some talking topics before I started, because I'm about to enter the frenzied mind of somebody trying to create highly dateable characters. So I apologize if there's dead air, quiet space. If you guys want me to talk about anything in particular, that actually, here's a good segue. Go ahead and enter into the chat any questions you might have or anything that interests you about the project, and then I'll talk about that instead of what I'm drinking and eating and snacking on. Of course, in addition to my disgusting gross coffee, I have just some good old water, because nothing beats that H2O. Let's start. Ooh, favorite dating sim. This is the part where I admit something to you guys, which is that I have not played that many dating sims. My fiance is actually the dating sim expert. She's the one who's played all of them, like every dating sim under the sun. So she answers all the questions I have. But when it comes to dating sims, I have only played a handful. I've played Hatoful Boyfriend, which I loved, but I wouldn't necessarily call it a dating sim in the traditional sense. I tried that Dead by Daylight dating sim. It wasn't for me. I think maybe it was something about the dating sim being in second person was really off-putting. So that one, not my favorite. But I did play it, and the art was really beautiful. The only dating sim that I have played and liked enough to like buy merch from it is the Arcana. Trying to convince one of my my artist friends to come say hi to you guys because she's a way better artist than me, but we'll see. The Arcana. Sorry, that's what I was saying. I'm kind of curious for those who don't know me, who you think my main was in the Arcana. Which character you think I picked, and most importantly, which character I actually have real life merch of. And I'll commit to drawing a couple lines while I wait for an answer on that one. I turn my canvas constantly while I'm working. I can't recommend it enough. The ability to rotate your canvas is excellent. When I draw traditionally, I'm somebody who's always moving my page around. Sometimes I even get up and stand on the other side of the table. Alright, I think I've given enough guessing time, and I doubt that anybody's really that curious, but I love Azra from the Arcana. He's my favorite character, and I have a little keychain of him on my backpack, my little tiny backpack that I carry everywhere. Because purses are so overrated. Hi, Joy! My beautiful friend Joy, who I have convinced to join us. We're talking about dating sims. Nadia! Nadia is actually my fiance's favorite character, and I guess it's no surprise then when I tell you that I have purple hair. But my fiance and I were friends for a really long time before we got engaged, and when I met her, I didn't have purple hair, but I've had purple hair for years now. So she saw pictures of me from high school with my purple hair and said, "Hey, you look like this character from this game I play." And I said, "Oh, what game?" And then she got real nervous for no reason. I guess the rest is history. I really like Faust. I love Faust, the derpy little snake. I actually have a snake, a pet snake. His name is Dr. Disco. He's not albino or anything fancy like that. He's just a reticulated ball python. But he's very docile, very kind, which is not something I think people expect from a snake. He's a skinny guy. We're working on feeding him. He gets kind of picky and refuses to eat. But yeah, I guess it's hard because there's no characters that I particularly dislike from the Arcana. I don't love the way that they did Lucio's route. I think that they could have done it in a different way, but I'm not necessarily going to say I could have done it better. I just think that if you have a villain character, part of the conceit of having a quote-unquote bad guy, I think, is if you have a bad guy and somebody wants to date that bad guy, presumably they are down with that person being a villain. And that's kind of what Shiloh is actually for our game. Not to give spoilers or anything. And not to get ahead of myself, because obviously Fiyas is the main event for today. Now, he's not quite as built as this table tennis player here, but I think his hips are still in the wrong place. This is the other part that takes so very, very long about my sketching process, is that I redo my lines constantly. It's how I avoid getting them very scratchy. When I work in traditional mediums like Copics and microns, which I've started doing more of lately, my lines are super broken, super stilted, and that's something I really try to break out of when I have the ability to Control Z, right? I do think that Fiyas probably has some pretty strong legs. So in addition to being the divine artist, I'll talk a little bit about Fiyas' role. He is kind of the shepherd for the community on the mountain. So the dating sim is going to be broken into sort of two overall regions. There's going to be the mountain, which is where sort of the divinity is. It's where the oracle, the artist, and the divine champion are going to kind of hang out. And out on the mountain, obviously Fiyas, our divine artist, is there, but somebody has to get them, food, take care of their livestock, and that's him. He does a lot of the shepherding around. I definitely did this hip wrong. I think the problem is that in my original design, Fiyas was a little bit older. I think I want him to be kind of young, kind of naive almost. I think that naivety is a really interesting trait to have, especially in something like a dating sim where it's really important that you kind of change over the course of the story. It's very important that your characters develop, right? That's sort of the whole reason that people tune in. So I thought that making him younger would help make some of his decisions go a little more smoothly. I'm getting so sidetracked. I just love talking about this guy. But yes, he is also, in addition to being the artist, kind of the shepherd. And it relates back to a lot of this early Christian imagery that I've sort of been very loosely inspired by. One of the most prominent images of like Proto-Byzantine Christianity is the idea of the good shepherd, right? Jesus was a good shepherd. David was a good shepherd. This idea of somebody who has that gentility and youthfulness. And I think that Fiyas is kind of an interesting character who could sort of represent the same ideas. Oh gosh, I did not sketch what that pinky was going to look like correctly at all. Let's come back in here and fix that. There's his, ring, middle. First, we're not going to see his thumb, so I'm not too worried about that. But Fiyas sort of struggles from an intense loneliness, I think. He sort of exists on the outlier of divinity because he was not necessarily chosen in the way that the champion was or in the way that the oracle was, where they believed that they were chosen by some higher power. He was more chosen for his actual skill. But as is very common with artists, he suffers from a bit of imposter syndrome. And even though he was chosen to depict the divine images that the oracle sees, he's still very much kind of struggling with the belief that he's not really good enough. Something I think a lot of artists relate to, that even once you've gotten something successful, or once your work has gained notoriety, you still feel like maybe you don't deserve the notoriety. And he feels a lot of pressure from that, I think. Man, that's so not what a hand looks like. I think the bend of his wrist is wrong. Kind of knock that down a bit and start back from 0. Yeah, his wrist is there. There we go. This is what I think I had mentioned it in the character video, but when I really recommend doing life drawing before kind of working on character sprites, this is sort of some of the reasoning why. It helps you get those proportions down, and it helps, for example, come back to a drawing and say, man, I really screwed that part up. Whoops. There we go. That's a little better. think I also have a penchant for drawing things a little too large and then having to come back and fix it later, and I think that's what I'm doing with the hand right now. There we go. I actually do have a question for those of you that are with me, actually following along for like making your own dating sim. My question is, when we get to the writing aspect of a dating sim, I, as a professional writer, have a software that I use to create scripts, and it makes for a script that's very easy to read, right? It's the industry standard, but the program that is the industry standard is like $200, which I know that is not something that just somebody trying to build a dating sim for fun is going to be able to drop. So my question is, would it be better if I wrote the script that I'll be sharing with you guys in an actual script writing program where you would be able to get like a final PDF and it would be very, set up like you'd read a stage play or any other kind of script? Or would it be better if I wrote it using like a free program, maybe like Google Docs or something, so that you guys can see what it would look like in your own hands? Which one would, be a little bit, I guess which one would be better for you guys to learn from is my question. Because I think formatting is very important when it comes to the practice of writing for games. But since this is like a one-man operation, God, those fingers are long. It's not like I'm sharing it with somebody else. It's not like it has to be industry standard. But I feel like for the purpose of being a good role model, maybe I should make it industry standard. I don't know. And we've got time before we get that far anyway. Those are some yowie fingers if I've ever seen them. Good Lord, get those things in there. There we go. Not quite so nightmarishly long. That's a good idea. I think if I were able to format it, I think that if I were able to find a way to format a script in Google Docs, I would just share that document probably. Don't make more work. You know what? You're right. I was not planning on pouring much love into this project, frankly, but the response thus far has been really positive, and you know what? I think it could be kind of fun to make a dating sim just by myself. Just to see that I can. Gosh, that looks like a puppet hand. I think maybe the angle of his wrist is off is the problem that I'm dealing with. Yeah, it is. Let's just redo this whole thing. Sorry, you guys can see how my sketching takes forever. Final Draft is the program that pretty much every screenwriter I've ever met uses. I believe it's currently on Final Draft version 12. But you can buy some of the older versions for cheaper, I think. I know I have some friends that use Final Draft 8 and Final Draft 9, and they actually prefer them, but I haven't spoken at length with them about their reasons. So, unfortunately, I'm no help there. Here we go. I think at some point I'm going to do some artwork for some of the scripts I've already written, and I will post those to my ArtStation. And if I do, I'll definitely put a tag in the next video or stream that comes out so that you guys would be able to view what a final draft screen looks like. But it would have probably some doodles of the characters over top of it or something fun like that. so yeah, wrist here, thumb here. Yeah, I'm not that worried about this hand because we're barely gonna see it. But this one that's front and center, I want to make sure it doesn't look like crap. A pretty good free alternative to Final Draft if you're just curious about the different ways that scripts are formatted would be Celtics, or I don't really know how it's supposed to be pronounced. It's spelled CELTX, and it's sort of this like web-hosted program that allows you to write scripts. And I've used that in the past, and it's remarkably similar, but obviously you have to like pay a subscription if you want to do more than, I think they give you like 2 or maybe 3 free documents. I don't remember exactly because I haven't used it in a long time, and my information might be out of date for that same reason. But yes, Celtics, I actually wrote webtoon comics in Celtics, and I wrote some super basic game. Oh, actually, I did use Celtics to write a RenP based game. I did. Sorry, I'm just remembering this. In high school, I worked on this project called Samsung Solve for Tomorrow was the competition, and our project was the KCTC Students with Autism game. And we made a game that would allow people who don't have autism to experience like the day in the life of a student with autism at school. And the idea was kind of to allow teachers to put themselves into the shoes of their students so that they could better understand the struggles that their students were coming to school with. And the thing that made me actually get into making games in RenP was that I didn't really love the way we were making our game. It was VR only, and I said, you know, somebody has autism, they're gonna have a really hard time with a headset, right? If somebody is very prone to being overwhelmed by stimulus, something that's like right on your face, that's making noise and moving at you and bright colors that you can't get away from, that seems really overwhelming. And I wanted to see what a version of the game would look like that was slow, or not necessarily slow, but controlled by the player, that it wouldn't move forward until the player was ready for it to move forward. So I got into RenP, and I made a 2D kind of choice-based version of our game. And because of the different options that you have in RenP, how you only move forward in the text once you click. It's very user-driven. It allowed the students that were playing the game and playtesting the game more time to really kind of experience what was around them. It wasn't quite so overwhelming. And I did use Celtics to make the script that I put in RenP for that game. It's kind of funny. We needed a teacher character, and we didn't have art for a teacher character yet, so I just drew my game development teacher and put him in the game. And he thought it was pretty funny. But gosh, that was in 2017, so that was before I even started college. It was a really good experience, though. It was so cool. Very informative experience, too, for moving on in my career. Career is kind of a strong word, I guess. I just graduated college in June, so I'm still on that job hunt. Maybe I'll publish a little dating sim and that'll help put me on the map. Gosh, this still seems off. I gotta move on. Maybe I'll come back to it later. If I don't move on, I'll be here all day. we'll come back to this later. There we go. Oops. Oh, good morning. My cat has joined us, Ethel Edith. She was hanging out in the other room, but I guess she got sick of being lonely. I know that if nobody else has my back, Cam, you got my back. Yeah, I mentioned in the very first video I made about dating sims that I was making this series for Chris, but he interviewed with the FBI like right after I posted the first video, and had no need for making dating sims after that. But maybe I'm continuing just for myself now. It sounds ominous. I don't know. I think there's just more money to be made in the FBI than as a game developer. I couldn't be an FBI. I don't know, member, cultist, I don't know. Maybe I could be a janitor. I think that's what I could do in an industry like that. No. My goodness, if my friend was arrested, I certainly hope I wouldn't. That's funny. Thank goodness he wasn't arrested. Let's see. I think I have the wrist in the wrong place again. Man, hands are not my friends today. The fold of his hand is going to be down there. Yeah. Oh gosh. Just draw some total drama style hands, those super gross pointy thumbs. Do the thing I'm probably gross. Yeah, here's hoping it makes for, if nothing else, a nice little portfolio piece, but I think in the sake of fairness, when I do publish this game, I will probably do it for like, I don't know, 99 cents, $1.99, something like that. Just not a cost that's so prohibitive that people can't, like people wouldn't play it, but something that would allow me to create a video showing how to do that part of the process, kind of the publishing part of the process. Because that's a huge part of making a game, you know, quality control, publication, and some of the legal stuff that's involved. I want to make sure I'm not throwing people to the wolves. But you know, I'm not expecting it to make money. Maybe it'll make enough money for me to go on a little clothes shopping spree or something. I haven't bought myself new clothes in a hot minute. To be fair, the Target athletics section, that's where it's at. I'm not even goth anymore, I'm just comfy. Okay, nobody make fun of me, I have to zoom in really close to Draw's nipples. We're not gonna put that much detail into them anyway. Sorry for anybody who was here for anything more than a Ken doll situation, but that's what we're getting. Health goth. You know what? Yeah, I have some plants bottom watering in the other room, so you got me there. A little fun fact about me is I try desperately to distract from the fact that I'm drawing man's nipples. I have 42 plants, house plants. Love them. When everything's said and done here today, I have a tree, actually, a big, beautiful Monstera tree. Her name is Bethany, spelled with all E's, in need of a repot. So she has grown, her roots have grown so much that it's time for her to go into a bigger pot. And she is beautiful. She's my favorite. Don't tell my other plants, but she's my favorite. I don't know why I like to highlight the diaphragm, or I guess the bottom of the rib cage. But it is something that I do like to highlight, like to have prominent. Let's see what this looks like so far. I think his belly is a little long. We'll see. We might go back and fix the length of his belly as we go on, but I think we'll go ahead and put his ears and chin on the body base. I don't think that they're going to be changing all that much. He does have some ear piercings. They're not particularly visible in the... Oh gosh, I'm drawing with a pencil. Have I been doing that this whole time? Holy crap, I have been. Whoops. Let me fix those. How far back was that? Oh, that's not too bad at all. Thank goodness. I don't think that they're too prominent in the character lineup that I drew, but he does have some earrings. I think he's a pretty boy. A pretty boy needs earrings. Who cares if a guy without earrings is just a guy with earrings without earrings? You do, one of those things that you do notice as you draw more, and one of those things I mentioned about drawing what you see, not what you think you see, he does have one side of his head that is very slightly turned away further from us than the other side. And so that ear on that side is going to be lifted up slightly to show that. That eye is probably going to be a little bit smaller too, I think. A bit of a squarer face. The king is very pointy. He's a pointy guy. So I think a softer, gentler jaw. One will help make Fiyas seem a little younger, a little more youthful. I shouldn't say younger, I think I should say youthful. Because I don't necessarily think any of them are young. Whoops, I'm doing it again. Certainly none of them are under the age of probably 20. But I think he's definitely going to be the youngest. Maybe second only to Sagan. As you can see, drawing and redrawing again, the same thing. That's how I roll. the angle helps to get across that his head is turned slightly in that direction, but I don't... let's see what I can do here. Let me just see where this lines up. How bad is my blind symmetry? Yeah, that's pretty bad. Alright, yeah, that's not great. I like the idea of his neck being thicker on that side though, so I think I'll let it slide. Definitely gonna fix that though. Oops. Maybe we'll just do it this way. Good old-fashioned switcheroo way. Oops. There we go. Oh no, not this again. Alright, well, I guess we have two different parts to his body now. This happens sometimes when you're messing around with the vector layers in Clip Studio Paint. It's one of my primary complaints about the program. Let's see here. Oh goodness me, I erased all those lines at some point, didn't I? That's fine, I wasn't super happy with the breast line anyway. I debated for a really long time if I wanted to make the characters' heights like visible, if I wanted them all to be drawn kind of coming from the same place, or you know, if I wanted it to be kind of clear that there was like a hierarchy in size. Ultimately, I have decided that I want the differences to be visible, but I think the differences are more subtle than they were before. So it's not such a jarring idea. But I don't know, we'll see. I think maybe once I have a couple characters, I might line up the sprites and go, whoa, that feels weird. But I hope I don't. He's got both ears pierced. He seems like the kind of guy that likes dangly earrings every now and then. I do think that diaphragm line should be a little higher up anyway, so. Yeah, I do think his torso is a little long in the middle here. Yeah, I see where we're gonna bring this whole thing down. Oh shoot though, I'll have to bring his whole head down. There we go. I think I'm gonna bring it down in two different places. I'm gonna bring it down a little bit right here. Whoa, no thank you. And a little bit down here. Let's see. I think that makes way more sense. I think that looks way better. I also think it's time for me to bite the bullet on that. There we go. It didn't break up the lines too badly. Not in a way we can't fix anyway. There we go. You see how I get these really hairy lines in real life now. Which doesn't help that my hands shake. Wow, that side lined up like perfectly. Nice job, past me. What do you guys think? You think you should have a little bit of a belly? I think we can give him just a little softness, I think. Right there. Maybe up in here. What do you think? Should I give him a belly? Take a sip of my coffee here. Ah, my coffee's getting warm fast. Alright, tummy time. Like talking to a newborn. Yeah, I think we'll adjust this hip. Does his life make him softer near potatoes? You know what? That's good. You make a good point. We can bring that one down. I think there's kind of an interesting dichotomy that people have between like wanting their characters to be like really beautiful and like almost sterile, and wanting them to have, you know, a personality. If your characters are like totally perfect and like super chiseled and toned, they get kind of boring fast. This might just be me, but I like a character who's kind of ugly. I like a character that gives me something to look at. You know what I mean? I think that comes up in the wrong place. I think it's why I like a lot of movies from the 70s, because they weren't exactly airbrushing people back then, and if you, even your superheroes, they still had a little bit of fat on their bodies. They weren't like vacuum sealed. Maybe we'll make it a little bit thinner on that upper edge. There we go. Yeah, I debated making at least one of the characters outright transgender, but I do think at the very least at this part of the history, in this part of the world, that just like things like surgeries or hormone replacement didn't exactly exist. So even though you have characters that are gender non-conforming or just straight up reject the idea of gender, like Sagan, which we'll draw them, I don't know, later, I think it's more important to understand that, like, in the past, or, you know, maybe for somebody that we don't know very well, putting a name or a label on pretty much anything about gender or sexuality from the past is sort of a misstep. You make a good point, sorry, with the making a character thin does not always equal fitness, and I think that, let me take a departure here and try to find this file really quick. Let me bring it off screen for a second. This file that I mentioned where I got this image of the table tennis player on the side was just a huge folder of, there it is. Body types, there it is. So these are all Olympic athletes in different Olympic abilities, and you can see how wildly different their body types are, how much their heights and weights can vary, and how the different sports that they do influence the way that their bodies look. But you'll see very much that thin does not equal fit. And it all just depends on what kind of sport you're doing as well. It depends on what you want your body to be able to do. So you have people with wildly different height, you have people with wildly different weight, but it's for doing different things. So this is a really cool resource that was gifted to me, and I won't scroll through the whole thing just because it's, you know, a lot of different people, but something to think about, something to chew on, kind of interesting. Oh, I did get sidetracked though, didn't I? The problem that I'm gonna face with this hand is that we don't want that thumb to form a tangential line, but I really don't want... I don't want to make a super busted thumb just for the sake of being able to see it. But we'll draw this hand for the 30th time, and then I'll give up sooner rather than later, I'm sure. Maybe we can get into doing a little bit of stuff with his face, something kind of fun with his face. I think I'll actually probably draw the nose on a different layer. We'll keep the nose separate from the cheeks, the jawline. I don't plan on moving his nose around that much, but just in case, I want to make sure that I can if something goes wrong in the future. But making character sprites like this is a very time-consuming process because you always have to check everything you do. You have to check that it lines up with the layers below it. You have to check that it makes sense, like in reality. You're checking pretty much everything you do, second and triple guessing. It makes for a stronger piece in the end, but man, is it stressful until you get there. So there's really no shame in redoing things until you feel like you're doing it correctly or to the best of your ability, because, you know, sometimes our skills are just not amazing. You know, I did not get a degree in illustration. I am a writer, not an artist. But I like to draw, and I think liking to draw is half the battle. Let me just draw through his body here. We have his hand resting like around his leg. So his thumb is going to be clutched. Yeah, I think these lines will interrupt each other. You can see how I come through and second guess and all that good stuff. You promise you won't make fun of me if I repeat myself, because I am going to be doing this a lot. These hands and I are gonna fight all day, I think. Oh, that looks so bad. Oh well. Maybe we'll just come back to it later. Let's see where we're at. Yeah, I think we'll just have to ignore that thumb for a minute. really debated giving any of our characters tattoos. I ultimately decided against it just because I couldn't think of any tattoos that were thematically important enough to put on the characters. But Fiya came very close to having tattoos just for the sake of being a character. Would you say you're You know what? I frequently throw hands with my art. I have paintings that I throw away in a fit of rage and I come back months later and I'm like, oh, you know what, this isn't so bad. I'm always fighting my art. Yeah, I think that works. We'll worry about the other hand later. And we'll worry about that clenched fist way later. I think we'll go ahead and give him his first hairstyle, just so that I can more easily... Let's see here. Like I said before, you guys are going to help make sure that I name every layer that we make today. Okay, this doesn't have any impact on his hair. I think we're good to just go. Relating back to that Good Shepherd imagery though, that's kind of the decision behind giving him this very loose, curly, fluffy, like cherubine hair. I mentioned it in the speed paint of the king, but absolutely none of the characters have even remotely accurate hairstyles because, oh my god, y'all, the Byzantine Empire had some of the most unsexy hair you can possibly imagine. I'm glad I brought the tutorials back too. You know what? Giving my life a sense of purpose, which I have not had since I graduated school. I think this is going to be kind of a fun endeavor to do with you guys. And I hope you guys are ready to stick around, because it will take a while, I'm not going to lie. It'll take a minute. But I think we will have a very fun product by the end. Like I said before, let me know if you have any particular questions. Like I said, I didn't prepare any talking points, which is my mistake. But if you have questions about pretty much any part of the game, go ahead and ask. Or if you just have questions about the drawing process, anything. I like to draw in the actual places where I'll put the highlights for the hair. You can see I have one here. It makes it easier when I'm filling in the hair to remember the direction I was going for when I was inking it. Because drawing like this can be so time consuming, it happens a lot for me at the very least where I have to step away from a drawing and when I come back I cannot remember what I was doing with it. So when I put in the highlights or lowlights kind of manually like that, it's impossible for me to forget them. There we go. One thing that I think is kind of fun, or I guess a character trait that I find interesting about Fiya, I put Howl Pendragon on his mood board. How did I go about deciding ratings? Sorry, we'll come back to what I was saying earlier. when it comes to ratings, frequently you as the creator don't really get to decide what the game will be rated. You know, you can expect what kind of content would get you different warnings, and you can sort of prepare yourself and maybe kind of intentionally avoid content that would give you higher ratings. But at the end of the day, the creator of the game does not get to make the rating. It is determined by an external board, a lot like movies. But with games, I think it's a lot easier to know what you're getting yourself into. So for example, like our dating sim being a Ken doll situation where I'm not interested in doing anything particularly not safe for work. I think from this particular game, it just came down to accessibility. If it's a tutorial for, you know, making your first game, I imagine that an audience for that would skew a little younger, and I don't want to be making something that then those people who are interested in learning are maybe too young or just not interested in interacting with. I think we're gonna keep it pretty fluffy for the most part. We mentioned the Arcana earlier. I think I would not, we won't be doing anything more lewd, I guess, than the themes that you might find in the Arcana. Not, of course, that there is not a large audience for higher rated games. I just don't think that for my, you know, my first foray into this Steam game library, I don't want to don't want to necessarily get famous for doing something that I wouldn't show my grandmother. One thing that I really liked about the sort of late Roman and early Byzantine Empire that made me want to kind of take that part of our history and create something sort of tangential to it was the fact that Roman culture was some of the most culturally diverse in known history. All different races and all different genders and all different religions kind of came to rest in Rome, and I think that that's such a great backdrop to build a dating sim on, because that allows you to create characters who are so wildly different from one another. So some of the characters, their origins are from outside of this little country that we're set in, which it doesn't have a name yet, just like how the king doesn't have a name yet. I'm taking suggestions, I guess. But the ability to have different characters have different nationalities or backgrounds also lets you create like a wider diversity in your cast that feels way more natural. You might think that something like Greco-Roman culture or like Central European culture, especially before the Dark Ages, you might think that it's all white people with like blonde hair and blue eyes, but not necessarily. So I like that this part of the world and this time in the world allows me to do things like creating Persian characters or characters from the Indian Peninsula. So Fiyas is going to be, he's going to have a Persian background, but I don't think he's that closely related to it. I think his family is probably from this kingdom, wherever they've been there for a while, and that's what allowed him to become established as kind of an artist worthy of divinity. Let's get rid of these sketch layers and see what we're looking at here. Let's pop a face on there just for... I think we should give him some sideburns, or just some curls of hair that will come around the front of his ears. Just a little, there we go, kind of cute, resting on his cheek. Did I add something? His head was turned too far in the original concept. Yeah, I'm not expecting to stay perfectly accurate to the concept art that I showed you guys in the last video. Obviously, like, the color palettes are going to stay pretty similar. Let's try changing out some of these expressions and see what we have here. Oh, that's what I had been saying earlier, delirium. So yeah, he does have this delirious expression because I put Howl Pendragon on his character sheet. I put Dracula from Van Helsing on his character sheet, and I specifically chose Bacchus Mulatto to put on his character sheet. Because Bacchus Mulatto is kind of the illness of artistic inspiration and the ways in which artists kind of go crazy sometimes when they get too deep in their heads or they get too focused on their divine inspiration. So this is a guy who may or may not huff paint to keep himself inspired. But this is also one of those time periods where humanity was discovering just all different kinds of drugs and had absolutely no idea what to do with them yet. So I think it's kind of okay in that regard that he gets a little crazy. And there are also multiple scenes in the Arcana, which, like I said, we're not going to do anything more intense than what you'd find in that game. There's more than one scene of inhaling magical incense, so I think we can draw our own conclusions about that. Here we go. But we've got some hair. Let's give him a nose just to start out here. I'm actually going to draw it way up top. We're just going to pop a little nose in real quick. Oh, and by real quick, I should probably redraw this. Okay. Oh, goodness. Excuse me for the hiccups. Let's see. My traditional technique of sketching, if you can't tell, is draw the same thing 7 different ways and pray to God when you get to the inking section that you pick your favorite ones and it turns out okay. Oh, and then sometimes it doesn't, like that. You gotta do it over again. Like I said before, no shame in redrawing so that it looks better in the end. Better doesn't always come right away. Whoops. you know what? I'm gonna quit screwing with it and we'll just come back to that later. Because all of this is just gonna let us put some color in his skin anyway, which is what we're going for. There we go. I have a couple of reference sheets that I use for things like colors. If I can find where they went. There it is. And I will probably just refer to concept art. It's gonna take God knows how long to load. Come on, boy. There you are. Let's just slap some colors in here. Whoops. Slap is sure the right word. We'll come back to that hand. Come on, hair. You're here for one reason. I should probably just establish a hairline, shouldn't I? Oh well. There we go. I think his overall color palette for his skin and hair and body, probably not going to be the most complex, the most interesting, but his clothing, I want it to be very colorful, very energetic and expressive. Kind of the settings that he's in will help reflect his personality, his inner emotions, and all that cool stuff. You can see the fill method is not perfect, so I'll come back in here. Make sure that the area under all of our line art is nice and colored. Fix that little corner. There we are. He looks kind of funny like that, doesn't he? Put some hair on that mug. Just so we're not staring at a blank old brain. Yeah, I think that's a pretty decent base for his skin tone. Ah, God, I just killed a fly on my desk. Everybody ignore me for a minute. Horrible. Sorry. Thanks for holding for technical difficulties. It's Now this right here, the clipping mask, is my best friend in the whole wide world. It allows me to do pretty much anything on just the colors that I want to control. Very useful. What do you guys think? Should we fix that hand or should we just come right in with the body blushing? You know what? I'm not even going to wait for an answer. I'm going to fix that hand. I think I'm just going to start a whole new sketch. I have to decide what I even want this hand to look like. Maybe his hand is a little further back than I had originally thought. You can have his fingers resting against his thigh, kind of the inside of his hand. There we go. I should have grabbed something to eat before I sat down. I'm getting hungry. Just kidding. I have a Twix bar with me. My one snack that I brought for the stream. It is it's a left Twix for anybody who's curious. Maybe we'll see the inside of this hand a bit. Oh, this is gonna look like a real mess till we get the colors in it, but that's okay. Well, that's the problem. That's not how far down your fingers are from your thumb. There we go. Yeesh. You guys want my real advice about how to create perfect game sprites? Just to pay a better artist to do it for you. I'm just broke. Let's move this whole thumb right there. Yikes. There's a little too much stabilizing going on with my eraser. I think this is the one downside to working with vector layers like this, is when you zoom in real close, they start to get a little wonky. Yeah, I really doubt we're ever going to see much of this hand once the clothing is on it, frankly. Yeah. We'll see a little bit of this hand, but not very much. I think I still might change that outfit. Yeah, that still fits fine. Alright, let's get into some of my favorite stuff. Putting all the colors in, making the whole thing look like an actual piece of artwork instead of just a hot pile of garbo. I guess I should chill at some point. If you guys are here but not subscribed, do the subscribe thing and all that. What drink should I get from Starbucks, guys? Not the one I'm drinking right now, that's for sure. There we go. Thank you. Welcome to our club. I think we'll go ahead and give him a bit of... Do you like the pumpkin cream cold brew? The only way that I have found pumpkin spice tolerable in my waking life is by putting it in cold foam. So you do the pumpkin spice in the cold foam on top of a drink instead of actually putting it in a drink. That's the only way that I can live. Yeah, I like that color. Let's expand our brush a little bit. Come in with some of these. There we go. Just a little bit of everything everywhere. Put some warmth on his stomach as well. He seems like a kind of guy that takes a nap in the sun. Yeah, my one complaint about the caramel apple, they redo the caramel apple syrup every year, and every year it's not apple enough. If it's not so much apple that I can crunch it, it's not apple enough. Personal opinion, of course. I'm gonna take a screenshot of that, Cam. I'll send it to my guy. See how it turns out. I'm not sure how terribly long we'll be here. I was prepared to be here for a hot minute. Just kind of depended on the feedback I got, the response I got from you guys. Or if this is even interesting enough to be worth streaming. I'm not against going dormant for a while, but that's the problem. I would be very dormant until the sprites are done. I'd either record speed paints like I did at the King, or stream like I'm doing now. Chill is a good word, for sure. Definitely more casual, I think. Probably just because I'm allowed to put more filler words in. I won't test my luck by cursing too much, though. Here, I'll go ahead and bring his nose real far up. I think I mentioned it before that I've been using mostly brushes that are just preloaded into Clip Studio Paint. However, I have adjusted the settings of some of these. This is one of the ones that I've adjusted some of the settings on. This one is actually from YouTuber Catherine Murray. Delightful. That's what her. She's so sweet, and her dolls are really, really cute. But she released this brush for Photoshop, and I couldn't quite get it working, so I just sort of played with the settings until I made something I liked. So it's not the exact same brush, but it's quite close, I think. How do I manage to work and talk? I don't. I'm gonna be honest. You guys hear me throwing in all these filler words and trailing off and changing subjects. It's very difficult for me to focus on both screens at once, I think. I might. There we go. Bring that opacity down, make his skin a little softer. I think he's probably going to be a sculptor, by the way. I think that's the art that our divine artist will do for the most part, probably sculpting. However, a lot of the artwork that we probably shouldn't do that we understand now as being like pale, clean marble would have been painted in antiquity. So I think that even though he's a sculptor, his like working outfit is covered in paint splatters because a lot of the sculptures that we see from Greco-Roman antiquity, they were originally painted in beautiful, vibrant colors that have washed away over time. The Greeks painted their statues with, oh gosh, what's the name of it? I do know the name of it. A specific type of paint that's wax-based, and the name will come to me later as I sit here and think on it for a while. But it is a wax-based paint that you have to heat up in a pot, and then you can apply it while it's warm, and when it cools down, it's very durable. But the downside of that is that if the paint gets hot, say if it were outside or left, forgotten somewhere in the earth getting warm, it will melt and flake off. And that's right, yes, encaustic paint is what they used. Thank you. So that kind of paint is like this very thick. I've handled the sticks of it before, but I've never actually used it like melted down. It's really interesting kind of paint. I struggle to understand how they settled on that as opposed to something like tempera paint, which was, cheaper and definitely required less care. But in the end of the day, I'm thankful that they chose to use encaustic paint for so much of their work because it means that it had a chance of surviving. Tempera paint would not have survived. So I think I even put it on the sketch of his outfit. We'll take a peek here. His studio outfit. It's just a very calm tunic, but to keep it clean, he's got his little apron, and it's just going to be splattered with little colors here and there from where the paint got on him. I considered making him one of our strongest characters, actually, originally. because I wanted him to be able to carry his own marble, right? If he's working in his studio up on the mountain. So I mentioned, and I'll repeat it because I think we have some more people here. The game is sort of going to take place at two major locations. There's the castle, where a lot of the political stuff is happening. So that's where the king will be, that's where Shiloh, the administrator, will be, and where Kybele, the knight, will be. And then up on the mountain is where the divine energy is going to be. That's where Sagan, the oracle, is going to be the champion. He still doesn't have a name either. They're going to be up on the mountain, and I wanted him to be strong so that he could carry his own marble. But ultimately, I think that would detract from the ability to kind of have a relationship between Fiyas and our divine champion. The divine champion, I decided really early on that his kind of character trait that dominated everything else would just be unfettered kindness. He's very much like a golden retriever. He just wants to help. And I think that it's kind of a good way that he could get close to Fiyas would be to carry his big, heavy art materials around for him. Is it because people would travel there and touch statues? Yes and no. So there are some statues that were definitely out and exposed to the elements, but there's one that I'm thinking of. I know its name. Give me a moment and I can find its name for you. There's a standing Kore statue that was buried in the earth. It was a girl who died very young, and her family had this beautiful statue made in her likeness, and it's painted this bright red tunica, and her hair is like this beautiful brownish, like burnt umber color. And very soon after the statue was finished, the city that it was in was sieged. So in order to protect this incredible, beautiful statue, they buried it. They dug a hole, it's believed to be very near the actual gravesite of the girl whose depiction the statue is. They buried the statue so that the intruders, the marauding barbarians, would not be able to find it and deface it and destroy it. So when we unearthed it, when modern archaeologists unearthed this statue, and I'm looking, I have the textbook right here, is why I'm not on my screen, because I'm trying to find the name of this particular statue that I'm thinking of. When we unearthed it, it was no longer colored, but we knew that it had color because we could see just a little bit had survived, and they were able to do chemical rubbings and determine what colors she would have originally been painted with. And it's so, I love stuff like that. It's so fascinating to me. Where on earth? I know I have. I might give up on trying to find it in a second here, but I'd like to show you if I can remember where on earth just search the word Kore. That's not resounding no. Sorry, riveting content. I know, I swear we'll get back to it soon. I just could have sworn I had a copy. Still not that one. Well, I can't find it. Sorry. Anyway, there are a lot of statues that survived with just trace elements of their paints, and that one that I'm trying to remember the name of was just a really good example. but absolutely not necessary to what we're doing right now. But reflective of the colors that they would have used. And like I said, this is not like a one-to-one. We're not trying to create something historically accurate. This very much borders into fantasy. They don't even, like, there's not even a Christian God. Like, the religion that they're following is this completely made up one that's very, you know, esoteric and exists for like fantasy purposes. But I think that there's a lot of culture around the time, the sort of general time frame that we're going for that's so interesting that I wanted to be able to make reference to in our game. If not directly via text, then at the very least in the visual language of the game. Let's see, how tall is he compared to the king? I don't want him to be like the shortest, but forgot I named it that. Yeah. Why do I have two of these? I don't like that his hair makes him that much taller, but I think that's kind of funny. So maybe we'll just leave it. I think I want him shorter. I think I want him like a lot shorter. I think we might just grab this whole everything and move it down a little bit. Whoa, wait a minute. We don't want the king to move with us. There we go. Stop it! No! Oh, I see. There we go. I like that way more. The thing to keep in mind when you're adjusting characters and building them like this is that your text box is going to take up space at the bottom of the screen. Like, for example, let me just throw a little something something on there. Hello? There we go. Yeah, your text box is going to cover that-ish of your screen. Now, most dating sims, the text box is semi-transparent, so you can still see through it, but you will not, you know, you won't have a clear view of that much of the computer screen. Just to keep something to keep aware of as you're working, is that this is a zone. While it's really nice, you know, it's a nice part of the body, it's where the hands are, it's where a lot of the interesting stuff on your body is. Your waistline is going to be there. It's not necessarily something you're going to see in the highest definition. So it's okay if it's imperfect. So let's just come in here with my next step. Before I get too in over my head of pretty much anything, I like to make a really good basic wash. And just very literally wash in where I want my darks and lights to be. I think my brush size is a little big. Weird. Gonna let me or not really? This is one of those brushes that I really like, but it's really bitchy. Frasiclea. It doesn't ring a bell, but let me Google it. Yes, that's her, the Frasiclea cori. Wow, good job. A+ in scavenger hunting. Yeah, that's exactly. So the Frasiclea cori is the statue that I was talking about. If anybody else is curious, thank you. Yeah, so you can see that red on her tunica is the color that I, in particular, remembered so clearly. And just a testament to how much her family loved her after she was gone, to go through the effort of not only having a statue made, which it's a rather individualized statue for the time, which means that it probably does resemble the girl a little bit, at the very least a little bit. But they loved her enough not only to make it, but also to then go to the effort of burying it, preventing anyone from harming, even in the afterlife, their daughter. I think is very kind of humane, and one of those moments that is really impactful to me about history. You can see, as much as I like getting these wide washes of color, the brush that I do it with is not exactly the easiest to control, which I like it because it falls in a way that I think that light would kind of fall on a body, but it does leave me with a lot of cleaning up to do, which is okay, I guess. It allows me to carve out and define spaces that I want. So I can't complain too much about a brush that I made to do work for me. I do think this whole arm is going to be kind of in shadow. Now, if you want to know one of my actual all-time favorite statues from antiquity, it's the Pasquino group, or I believe the name, it's Patroclus and Agamemnon. I believe it's called the Pasquino group. I have it in here. I saw it when I was looking for the Frasiclea cori. There it is. Yeah, it's this very cool statue that's really well known for the expression in the faces. Menelaus, yeah, not Agamemnon, but very cool statue of Menelaus holding Patroclus at the moment of his death. Very, very cool, very high emotion statue. Very beautiful, one of my favorites, for sure. And incidentally, Patroclus has those very cherubine curls that I was kind of talking about that we're going to be giving Fiyas. So look at that, relating back to our case study or whatever. I think this whole arm is going to be kind of in shadow back there. I know I keep saying it, and I think it's probably just because it's very distracting for me, but let me know if the music is too loud or annoying or anything like that. I tried to pick something extremely lo-fi, but we'll see. Hands grow from prop. That's right. Yeah. I certainly don't have the hands to work with marble, and neither does Fiyas, which, like I said, I think that will give him kind of an interesting relationship with the champion. He still doesn't have a name. A friend of mine suggested Alexius, and I like Lex as a shorthand, but I don't know if I like Alexius as the full name. We'll see. Jury's out, and I've got time. But the thing that was difficult is that the other characters that have names, so many of the names mean something. Fiyas is actually the word for artist in a very old language that was, oh God, I don't remember what it was called. It originated a little bit north of modern day Greece, and it's no longer spoken. And Kybele, for example, Kybele it's a bastardized spelling, but it's the name of like one of the earliest documented goddesses of the earth. So they have, you know, the names that do exist are pretty pretty straightforward, I guess, rather unoriginal, but match the characters really well. Sagan was an occupation at one time. It was a seer, somebody who divines and sees into the future, and obviously Sagan is our oracle, so it kind of matched up. Shiloh doesn't mean much, but it is a very old name. It's a name that originates, you know, beyond kind of documentation. So I thought it was fitting for Shiloh, our Shiloh, who is going to be the oldest dateable character. And if you have to ask me how old she is, it's because you're a coward. I'm just going to say it now. Mostly because I don't know how old she is, but that's not my problem, right? That's a problem for people who want to date her, is to find out how old she is. Okay, so we have a little bit of dimension kind of going here. We have a little bit of an understanding of where our dark and light is going to interact with itself. Let's go ahead and actually darken this thigh a little while I'm sitting here looking at it. Not that much. There, I like that a lot. You guys, you haven't been holding me up to the promise I made. I have to name all of my layers. That's okay. We'll try again on this one. So now we have kind of our general broad concepts. Yeah, this is the brush that I used for pretty much everything from this point on. I think I just like it because, like I said, it's one that I worked on myself. But the brush that I use to create pretty much everything. One thing that I like to do when I'm defining my darks, kind of bringing in my shadows, and a little trick, I guess, for those of you who are interested in drawing your own character sprites, I start by only outlining where my shadows are going to be, and then blending them in on the inside. That's where I start all of my shadows, because, like, if you look here, let me just grab this for an example. You can see where this shadow is defined on his leg. If you squint your eyes really hard, you'll see the darkest parts of this shadow are lined up. They're lined right up to the brightest parts of his highlights. Because the body is three-dimensional, right? If it's dark in one spot, it stands for reason that it's dark because it's being overshadowed. So I like to only outline the shadow from the outside like this, and then blend in, and it leaves you that edge of your shadow that's very similar to what you might see in the real world. Some shadows are a lot lighter, a lot less prevalent. Others are a little darker. It's all a game of finding what you love, finding that happy medium. It's 2 o'clock now. I think we'll give it a little bit more time. Thank you guys so much for joining. Probably not going to be a super long stream for this first one. I'd like to try to get to highlights at least today, but just testing stuff out, testing the waters. I guess I should ask, what can I do to better prepare you guys for an upcoming stream? Obviously, because I work retail right now, I don't get my schedule until usually the week of, which is not great, but you know how it is. But you know, I try to post on my Instagram story at least an hour before I go live. Let you guys know that I am going live. I cannot make community posts on YouTube yet. The channel is not big enough. I don't have enough subscribers. That reminds me, if you're here and you're not subscribed, I would love if you guys did that. But there we go. You know, whatever I can do that will make it easier for you guys to be here with me during streams so that you're getting the most out of the time that I spend on YouTube. I want to make sure that if I'm here, I'm doing stuff that is helpful or, you know, meaningful. So any and all suggestions I'm open to. Unfortunately, the one that I would like to do the most, just making community posts, I just can't really do it yet, that's all. We're gonna cut in here. One thing that's kind of interesting that I see in a lot of character sprites, not necessarily for dating sims, but just for any game in general, you'll see that the artist kind of doesn't know how to reconcile the fact that they can't control the external lighting on the character. And so what I've seen a lot of are characters that don't really have shadows or highlights at all. The characters from Dream Daddy, Dad Dating Simulator, come to mind for me. They just don't, you know, rather than try to reconcile how you make the consistent lighting of your character look good across your different backgrounds, they just kind of didn't light the characters. So that's definitely a viable technique for avoiding some of the issues that we will have, because I am choosing to define some of the darks and lights on these characters. There are some issues that we're going to run into in the future that we'll burn that bridge when we get there. But there are, you know, more than one way to skin a cat, more than one way to make a dating sim. And none of them are necessarily wrong, you know? No nipples equals no dating. That's pretty funny. That's pretty true, actually, I think. Upload this stream after I'm done. I will definitely be archiving or uploading, or I haven't gotten very far into the back end yet, so once I've ended the stream, I think I should have a couple of options, and I will definitely do whatever that allows the stream to stay visible. I believe next time I am streaming, I can tell you guys, I have it in my calendar. This Wednesday, I believe, I will be streaming. Give me 1 second. I will be right back. I have my calendar, but it's in the other room. So I'll be able to tell you guys, and you'll know before anyone else does. So I'm glad I checked because I was wrong. This Thursday, starting at noon, just like this stream, we will be streaming again. What day is that? So it's Thursday. The 22nd is when I will be back streaming, and I guess I'll open the floor to you guys for options. We can keep working on Fiyas, or we can work on one of the other characters. Why don't I go ahead and pull up the... There we go. Shiloh, you need to look a little better than that for me, girly. There we go. I was thinking kind of, unless you guys have strong feelings one way or the other, we would just finish Fiyas, keep working on him until he's done. I might do some work on him off camera just because he needs some correction already. I can tell just from working, you know how it is. But if you guys would rather see any of the other characters sooner, or if you have any, you know, burning questions about other characters, want to hear about them, hi Ethel, thank you so much for interrupting. Well, I hope the stream can't hear you. I'm so sorry, my cat just came in here purring her heart out, yelling at me. No news, I'll just continue working on Fiyas as I have. Yes, her name is Ethel Edith. She's very orange, and she needs attention. You're very popular, do you know that? Sorry. Anyway, even if I continue working on Fiyas off screen, I think we will continue to kind of truck along on him unless I hear otherwise. Yeah. Ethel Edith, you're very popular. You're very distracting. Oh, good Lord. Ethel, you're being very dramatic. Sorry, this is a constant around my house, just deciding that she wants to be the center of attention. Like most cats, I think. Sorry, I gotta scribble around here to get my stuff pulled back up. Okay. I actually have two cats. Two cats and a snake I mentioned earlier in the stream. They don't interact with each other. The cats don't interact with each other, and the snake doesn't interact with anybody. We adopted Anais is my other cat. And unfortunately, she's a rescue. She's a little bit of brain damage. And Ethel, our other cat, is taking her time warming up to her new sister. So they don't interact with each other unsupervised yet, but maybe once they get a little bit closer or they get a little bit more comfortable with each other, maybe they'll make an appearance on camera or something for you guys. I do have a snake. His name is Dr. Disco. He's a reticulated ball python, so he's just got the patterning of your traditional male ball python. And he's very docile and very friendly. But he's still a snake, so he keeps his distance from the cats. My house, I tell people my house is a rainforest cafe because In addition to the snake, my fiance has a tarantula. I won't talk too much about her because I know people can get kind of sensitive about eight-legged friends. But she has a golden-kneed tarantula, and her name is Bella. And I own 42 houseplants. So our house is basically a rainforest cafe between all of the animals and plants. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I find that I live in a very inspirational space. Ha! No, Dr. Disco and Bella, they might not even know the other ones exist. We have a loft, and the spider likes a little bit more heat than we as humans like. So she lives upstairs where it's a little bit warmer. We have a little loft with like just a tiny like patio on our roof. So she gets a lot of good sunlight. So her tank gets nice and warm. But I did just watch two people leave the stream. Sorry guys, I won't talk about the rancho anymore. But I can talk about plants, I guess. I have a golden pothos. They're also called devil's ivy. And his name is Big Brother because he is gorgeous and gigantic. He hangs from our ceilings. Our ceilings are 12 feet tall, and he hangs from the ceiling, and he has a couple of leaves that touch the ground. His vines are beautiful and thick. So we call him Big Brother because he's just big and friendly. And is watching. Yes, he's always watching. Which some plants are just born to thrive, and others not so much. I have a couple of pothos. I have a couple of golden pothos. Pothos are my favorite plants. I know some people insist that it's pronounced pothos, but I'm not from New York, so I guess that's not for me to say. But I have a couple of really beautiful philodendrons. But Big Brother is my largest one by a long shot. He's in a 16-inch planter suspended from the ceiling like a madman. And I don't think I have any other pothos in anything larger than a 6-inch pot. So he is by and large in charge. I think I might be overworking some of these shadows, and it might be time for me to call it and move on to the highlights soon. Mushrooms driving my garden. I am very slightly allergic to strawberries. They just make my mouth tingle a little bit, and they don't taste the way that people describe them tasting. To me, they taste a little bit more acidic, but I still like them, so I still eat them. Even though it's not the same eating experience that I think most people have. I would love to have a garden, but I like to say that I can only keep alive plants that are not useful. I can only keep alive decorative plants. I don't know, my green thumb only extends so far, and I've killed an embarrassing amount of basil. But who hasn't, right? Oh, not big on pineapple. I had braces for years and years, so the inside of my cheeks are all torn up, and I never really let it heal, so pineapple bites me back. Not my favorite. I'm gonna say something kind of controversial though. I really like pineapple on pizza. I don't like ham on pizza. Whoever came up with a Hawaiian pizza was out of their mind. But I do like, I like a good bit of pineapple on my pizza. Basil is hard, but it is so worth it when it's just right there at your fingertips. I think this whole patch should be one dark spot. Kind of hug his diaphragm a little bit here. Yeah, basil does need a lot of sun. Like that. Cute. Yeah, I do. We have the benefit of our house is kind of like, it's one of those fishbowl apartments where it's just like giant windows in every room. Not great for our heating and cooling costs, but it does let me have all of my crazy houseplants. We have a sunroom. It's my painting studio. So I have a minor in painting. And I do most of my painting out in our studio. It's kind of just like a room, it's just windows on 3 of the walls, just nothing but windows. And that room is where most of my plants are. Let's see, what do I have in there? I have oiseau. Oiseau is my bird of paradise. Oiseau is just the French word for birds, so he's my bird of paradise. And he was a graduation gift that I bought for myself. He is gorgeous. He was 5 feet tall when I got him, and he has since put out a new leaf that has him taller than me, and I'm 5'7", so he's beautiful. And he lives in the stairs in our loft, gets a ton of sunlight there. Bethany, who I mentioned before, my Monstera deliciosa, her name is Bethany with all E's. She's gorgeous. She's my favorite plant. Don't tell my other plants. But she needs a repot because she has been growing like crazy, crazy, crazy. So after I'm done working on Fiyas, that's what I'll be doing today. She's getting a nice big home. I think that's nice. Just a little touch of a shade right there. Kind of fun. Let's go ahead and put some light on this. See what happens here. Actually, we should probably do his nipples, shouldn't we? I've been avoiding this part. I've been avoiding this part because I'm scared I'll screw it up. Let's just do something quick, and if it looks bad, he'll be wearing clothes most of the time, so who cares? No, I guess they don't. It's just embarrassing to have to admit that I don't know how to draw nipples. Not my strong suit, to be sure. I don't look at people's chests that much, I guess. Not where I normally keep my eyes when I'm talking to somebody. At the very least, they're placed in the right spots, I think. Just the center line of his body. Yeah, they're placed in kind of the right spots. And then we'll come in and do highlights and we'll make them look like they're not painted on. There's a skin tone color. You know, why don't we try to warm up our shadows a little bit. Let's do it this way. Yep, nipples typically do line up with your eyes. It's one of those things where it's like, it's almost always true, but you still want to double check anytime that you think it might not be. But as a rule of thumb, absolutely, your nipples do line up with your eyes. I love the idea of, I would love to introduce myself by saying, hi, I'm very good at drawing nipples. But yeah, it's good that he was good, because you have to be able to put your money where your mouth is with a clam like that, I think. I think that's gonna warm up those shadows just a little bit. Yeah, I like that more. Now we're trying to give him a gentle highlight, not coat him in oil. So here's hoping we hit the sweet spot in there. Because we're not exactly making a wrestler yet, I guess. Maybe the Divine Champion will be oily, who knows. We're gonna bring the size of that down a little. There we go. There's really no right or wrong way to establish low lights, highlights, darks, shadows. I like to do my shadows first, and I like to do them kind of in broad strokes so I can see the whole body. But when it comes to my highlights, when I have a better idea of where I'm going with the character, I don't zoom out so much, and I like to kind of work top to bottom. So, as you can see, starting with his neck, and we'll end with his hands and his legs. Create some kind of soft areas of a lot of volume. We want the idea that he is like soft. He's, like I said, he's not going to be very muscular, so his shadows are not going to be super sharp, and his highlights are not going to be super heavily defined either. But he'll have this kind of soft feeling, almost like a more feminine quality, I think. But I think it'll pay off in the end, especially if we're going for that Howl Pendragon style guy with earrings. I'm sure you guys have heard that post. A guy without earrings is just a guy, or a guy with earrings is just a guy without earrings with earrings. And they're right. They're right, but it doesn't change that I love me a guy with earrings. Let's see, I'll try to carve out some of these. There we go. You'll have to forgive me if I'm wrong, but that's like a Russian smiley face, right? Where it's just a closed parenthetical. Because I've been reading those as smiley faces, and I hope they are. think he's got maybe just a little bit of rim light coming from behind. That'll help keep him from fading into any of the backgrounds we put him on. I'll highlight a few areas here, the swell of his chest and then right here under the diaphragm. Really blend that one to crop him back. I don't think I want to see it very much. Oh, sorry. Just wanted to make sure I wasn't misinterpreting it. Oh, I'm very sorry to make the mistake then. I guess I shouldn't have said Russian. I think, what's the Cyrillic? Is that the alphabet? I should have just said the alphabet instead. Nah, not too bad. I'm glad you're here. Glad to know I have support from so far away. It is called that. Cool. Awesome. I think maybe I'm putting a little too much emphasis on these hips here. Nothing wrong with having some strong hips, am I right? Why don't we even make them stronger just for fun? That's kind of fun. Kind of cute. Alrighty. Let's see. Soften. There you go. I think the tummy was a good choice. I think he's got a little bit of belly, and I like that. Yeah, it looks like a hip you could carry a laundry basket on, right? That's the goal. Yeah, I think he's got a little bit of a hip dip, definitely on this side. I think if he turned his hip more on this side, he'd have one. We just don't see it from this angle. Which, these are not the only angles. Uh-oh. Pen started acting up. These are not the only angles we're going to be seeing these characters from. Character sprites are not the end-all be-all when it comes to making games. I'm sure a lot of you know this already, but most dating sims or games like this will have like gallery images in addition to character sprites, where you'll have the character in like a background from the game. Kind of like your reward for like doing a date right, you know what I mean? Kind of for picking the right options. You're sometimes rewarded with splash art. So we'll definitely be seeing these characters from more than just the angles of their character sprites. So there are certain details that we don't see from the sprites. The king is a really good example, actually. The king, you know, even though in the game when we're looking at him on the text, when we're looking at him in game with the text screen in front of him, we may not see the amputation, his hand. But in splash art, it's going to be an opportunity to make them a lot stronger, make them a lot more visible. And I think I'm probably going to do that with a lot of traits for all of the characters. Sagan's hair, for example, the Oracle, The Oracle is not allowed to cut their hair, sort of one of those holdovers from the Byzantine Empire. So in their splash art, I think it's going to be an opportunity to draw a lot of really beautiful, flowing, very dramatic hair. And I'm kind of excited about that. There we go. Could have used his hips to carry his supplies. Yeah, if he were stronger, I think I mentioned it that I was thinking about making him stronger, but I don't necessarily think it's appropriate to call him a twink because it's a dating sim. He can't exactly be gay. Not if he wants to, not if I want him to be like a character that anyone could date. But I definitely think he has like a very, that slender, kind of unmuscular body type. But originally he was going to be a lot more like, not necessarily muscle bound, but stronger. But I think it just doesn't lend itself to the kind of character I want to go for. I think he's sort of plagued by like very real like artist imposter syndrome. He sort of handles some mental illness in the way that a lot of like overly inspired people tend to get kind of ill with themselves. And I think that giving him like a big, strong figure was kind of counterintuitive to the very quiet vulnerability that I wanted him to have as a character. So I think in order to keep him more vulnerable, he's got to look physically a little bit softer. This is not going to be true of every character we do, but I thought about it when I was making him at the very least. I want to make that belly button look a little less stupid. Let's come in here and make this belly button a little less stupid. And this is something not everybody has, but it's something I've noticed on some people that have kind of a bit of a belly, is that there's this very faint sort of cleft below the belly button in the relaxed fat of the stomach. I think we'll give him just a little bit of a cleft there to kind of exemplify that trait that I've seen before. Very subtle. Not sure that anybody is going to see it, but I think it's nice. And at the end of the day, I'm the one making it. Let's duplicate these highlights and see where I missed. Yeah, it's actually not that bad. I think some of our other characters are going to be a lot more muscular. He's not unmuscular, like he definitely has a little bit of bicep, and his legs are going to be quite strong, but he's certainly not our strongest character. Obviously, I guess that's going to be the Divine Champion, but I think having Sagan, who is extremely slender, very not muscular in the least. So these three characters are the ones that are going to be on the mountain. So this is Sagan. This one doesn't have a name yet. He's the Divine Champion, and this is Fiyas, our guy that we're working on right now. And so because these three are going to be interacting with each other a lot, I wanted them to look very distinct from one another, and keep them kind of interesting, which is why I ended up making Fiyas. He's a lot shorter now. He's going to be shorter than Sagan even, and he's a little bit more demure, I guess is the word. But I think we're coming up on a little bit of the last touches here for the highlights. I think we'll go ahead and color in his line art, and that might be it for today. Whoops, wrong layer. But this was a really good start. This is a really good way to experiment a little bit, test out some of the different technology that I gotta use. Kind of get my head on straight. Very helpful. So thank you guys for helping with that. If you're not already following my Instagram, Last Life Creations, same URL or same user as is here on YouTube, I definitely recommend you do, just because for now that's where I'm going to be posting updates before I go live. I'll be posting there. So probably about an hour before I stream, there will definitely be a story. But like I said before, next stream is going to be this Thursday, the 22nd, starting at noon. I think we'll keep working on Fiyas. I think we'll probably keep working on Fiyas. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, that's one of the reasons I'm so glad I moved my microphone away. I was worried I might sneeze on you guys today. I want a little bit more light on this cheek. Thank you. Yeah, it's with the changing of the seasons comes my allergies, as brutal as they always were. Yeah, so now comes the hard part where these two different layers don't line up. I'll just have to rasterize them both. There we go. This layer, I know what I said about naming your layers. We're not going to do it this time, just because I'm going to immediately merge this layer down. So don't come for me, please. Have mercy on my soul. Yeah, I want that warmer, I think. Yes, perfect. So now we'll come in and we'll blend in these lines so they're not so harsh. You know, let me check something really quick. I have to remember how I did this on the king. Okay, I did change his chest color. Okay. Just wanted to check that real quick. Bring all of these internal lines to a color that's a little less advancing. Actually, I don't think I'm going to highlight that hip because clothing will cover that up eventually. Same thing there. Oh, sorry, I might sneeze again. Here's hoping I don't. Okay. Oh, that's right, I did his face on a different layer. Perfect. We won't worry about the face then. There we go. I think that's perfect. Nailed it in one. Well, let's do something to his nipples first. We'll find out if this is too much color. Yeah, that's a little too much color. There we go. That's pretty good progress for today. All things considered, got a lot done. Should probably probably save. I'm doing a lot of work. Should probably save all that work. Yeah, I think this is a pretty good stopping point for today. We'll come back Thursday. Maybe we'll get in some of his facial expressions or some of his clothing. He has a couple different hairstyles too. Tied back, pinned back. We'll get to all that fun stuff later. But before I leave, let's make sure that his clothes still fit. Oh yeah, these are supposed to be a part of the same outfit. Yeah. Everything seems like it's still in a pretty good spot. Don't think that moving his hand around caused too many issues. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I really hope you guys come by Thursday. Obviously it's a weekday, so I get it if not everybody can make it. But either way, I really am glad you guys are here. I'm gonna find a way to upload this stream after I'm done with it, so keep an eye out for that later today. But I hope you guys have a good one. Bye.